Hi.
Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but I guess life has a way of flipping everything you thought you knew upside down. My name's Jerry, I'm 55, been married to Betsy for 28 years. We've had our ups and downs, but I always thought we were solid. Turns out, I was dead wrong. So, last Friday night, I got home earlier than expected. I was supposed to be out with my buddy Tom, but he canceled last minute, so I figured I'd surprise Betsy with some takeout. Just something simple, you know? It's not like we do big romantic gestures anymore, but I figured it'd be a nice way to spend the evening. As I walked in, I heard laughter coming from the living room. Betsy and her group of friends were over, her usual crowd. 5 women, all in their 50s, acting like they were back in college. I wasn't in the mood to socialize, so I decided to hang back in the hallway for a second before making my presence known. That's when I heard my name. And let me tell you, I wish I hadn't. Betsy was laughing, saying something about how our intimate life had basically dried up. Then one of her friends, Carol, chimed in. Well, Jerry's practically a roommate at this point, isn't he? The way they all laughed, like it was some inside joke, made my stomach twist. Then Betsy, my wife of nearly 3 decades, said, "Oh, please, even if he wanted to, I'd just fake a headache. It's easier." More laughter. Loud, genuine, like this was some hilarious comedy skit. I stood there frozen. I mean, yeah, things between us weren't as passionate as they used to be, but I thought we still had something. Respect, at least. But it got worse. The topic shifted to their upcoming girls' weekend, which, according to Betsy, was just a relaxing getaway. Except that's not what they were actually planning. Turns out, they weren't going to some spa retreat like they told their husbands. Nope. They were heading to a high-end club that specializes in, let's just say, very personal entertainment. And they weren't just going to watch. Lisa, one of Betsy's closest friends, was the ringleader. "It's just a little harmless fun," she said. "Nobody has to know." Betsy, my wife. She hesitated for all of 2 seconds before Carol convinced her. "Come on, Bets, when's the last time you felt desired?" And then, this is the part that makes my blood boil, Betsy giggled and said, "Well, I guess it's about time I had some real excitement." I couldn't listen anymore. I walked straight back out the door, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd have a heart attack. I sat in my car for a long time, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what I had just heard. Was this real? Was this my wife? The woman I had built a life with? A part of me wanted to barge back in there, confront them all, make them explain themselves. But I didn't. I knew if I did, they'd just brush it off, call me paranoid, make me feel like I was overreacting. So I drove. I didn't even know where I was going, just that I couldn't be in that house, listening to my wife and her friends joke about betraying their husbands. I had to think. And more than that, I had to figure out what to do next that I didn't go back home that night. Instead, I drove around for hours, replaying that conversation in my head. Every word, every laugh, every smug little comment. My wife, the woman I'd built a life with, was planning to cheat on me, and she didn't even seem to feel bad about it. At some point, I ended up at a diner. Ordered a coffee I didn't drink and just sat there, staring at my hands. I thought about Amy, our daughter. She's married now, expecting her first kid. How the hell was I supposed to tell her that her mom is a liar and a cheater? Around midnight, I finally went home. I was half expecting Betsy to be asleep, but she was in the living room, watching TV. She looked up when I walked in. "There you are," she said, barely glancing at me. "Where have you been?" I almost told her right then. Almost demanded to know how long she'd been this kind of woman. The kind who sits around laughing about how pathetic her husband is while planning a weekend of betrayal. But I held it in. If I was going to confront her, I wanted to do it right. I wanted proof. So I just shrugged. Went for a drive. She nodded, not even suspicious. Just went back to her show like nothing was wrong. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice. Well, I guess it's about time I had some real excitement. The next day, I started planning. Betsy and her friends were leaving Friday morning. That gave me 4 days. I had 2 goals. Find a way to confirm everything. Make sure their husbands knew exactly what was going on. I started with her phone. I knew the passcode. She never changed it. When she was in the shower, I checked her messages. And there it was. A group chat called Girls Escape Party Popper Kiss marked. I clicked it open, my hands shaking. Lisa, OMG ladies, it's almost time. Carol, I'm so ready for this. No husbands, no stress, just fun. Lisa, and by fun, we mean hot young men winking face. Betsy, you guys are a bad influence, lol. Carol, Bets, you know you love it. Lisa, are we all agreed? No guilt, no regrets? Betsy, no regrets. It's just a weekend. What happens there, stays there. I felt sick. The proof was right there. Betsy wasn't just tagging along. She was fully on board. I backed out of her messages, put her phone back exactly as I found it, and walked out of the bedroom before I could lose it. I knew what I had to do next. I grabbed my phone and texted Tom, my best friend. His wife, Susan, was part of this group. He deserved to know. Me, hey man, you got time to talk? It's important. A few minutes later, my phone rang. Everything okay? Tom asked. I took a deep breath. No. Listen, I need to tell you something about Susan and Betsy and the other girls. But you're going to want to sit down for this. Tom went dead silent after I told him everything. At first, I thought he'd hung up. But then he let out this slow, heavy breath, like he was trying to keep himself from losing it. Are you sure? His voice was tight, controlled. I wish I wasn't, I said. But I saw the messages myself. Another long pause. Then, send me the screenshots. I hesitated. I hadn't taken any. I was too caught up in the moment, too angry, but I couldn't risk going through Betsy's phone again. Not yet. I'll get proof, I promised. But I need you to trust me for now. Tom was quiet, then said, I believe you, Jerry. I don't know what to do with this. I understood. How the hell do you process something like this? You wake up thinking you have a normal marriage, and by the end of the day, you find out your wife's planning a cheat fest with her friends. We need to tell the other guys, I said. Tom agreed. So we set up a meeting for the next evening. Just the husbands. We weren't going to tip the women off yet. We needed a plan first. The meeting. Wednesday night. 4 of us sat in Tom's garage. Me, Tom, Dave, Carol's husband, and Mike, Lisa's husband. Nobody said much at first. Just a lot of heavy sighs and staring at the floor. Finally, Tom spoke up. Jerry told me everything. And I checked Susan's phone before I came here. It's all true. Dave rubbed his face. Carol told me this was a spa weekend. Mike let out a bitter laugh. Lisa too. Jesus. How long have they been lying to us? I clenched my fists. Does it even matter? They were laughing about us. Betsy literally said I was just a roommate to her. Tom's face darkened. Susan said the same thing. Dave slammed his beer down. So what do? We can't let them just get away with this. We won't, I said. But if we confront them now, they'll just lie. Gaslight us. Make us feel crazy. Mike frowned. Then what's the plan? I took a deep breath. We let them go. The guys stared at me like I was nuts. We let them think they're getting away with it, I explained. But we follow them. Get real proof. And then, I looked at each of them. We expose them. Dave's eyes narrowed. How? Tom was already nodding. I think I know what Jerry's getting at. We catch them in the act. And we make sure they can't lie their way out of it. Mike exhaled. Jesus. I could see the emotions hitting him. Anger, humiliation, sadness. We were all feeling it. They leave Friday morning, I said. We get our proof Friday night. Setting the trap. The next morning, I got lucky. Betsy was in the shower again when her phone buzzed with a new message. Lisa, ladies, the club is booked. VIP treatment all the way. I took a deep breath. I didn't have much time. I grabbed my phone and snapped a quick photo of the message before it disappeared. There it was. More proof. That night, I sent it to the guys. Me, they're going to a club. VIP treatment. You know what that means. Tom responded first. Tom, we're doing this. Dave and Mike agreed. We weren't going to sit around and wait to be made fools of. We were going to their little spa weekend. And we were bringing the truth with us. The next 24 hours were the longest of my life. I barely spoke to Betsy, and when I did, it was short, forced. She didn't seem to notice. Or maybe she just didn't care. Friday morning came. Betsy was up early, packing her bags, humming like she was some happy wife off on a well-deserved retreat. If only she knew what was coming. I stood by the door, watching her zip up her suitcase. All set for your spa weekend? I asked, keeping my voice casual. She turned, smiling. Yep, it's gonna be great. Just some much-needed girl time. I nodded, biting my tongue. Liar. She kissed my cheek. Hadn't done that in weeks, maybe months. Love you. I just gave a stiff smile. If she noticed my coldness, she didn't let on. And then she was gone. The chase begins. The second Betsy left, I grabbed my bag, already packed, and drove straight to Tom's house. The guys were already there, looking just as tense as I felt. They just hit the road, Tom said, checking his phone. Susan sent a text about how relaxing this weekend is going to be. He clenched his jaw. I can't wait to see her face when we show up. Dave had pulled up the location from his wife's GPS. He had access to their shared phone plan. They're headed to a hotel outside the city. We'll follow at a distance. Wait until they leave for the club, then move in. Mike cracked his knuckles. Let's do this. Checking in. We arrived at the hotel an hour after them, booking a room on the opposite side of the building. They had no idea we were there. From our vantage point in the lobby, we saw them laughing, drinks already in hand, acting like carefree women on vacation. Lisa waved her phone. The driver's picking us up at 9. Girls' night out, baby. Betsy smirked. Hope you ladies are ready for some attention. My stomach twisted. Tom grabbed my shoulder. We're doing the right thing, he muttered. I nodded, eyes locked on my wife. Damn right we are. The club. At 9:15, we saw them pile into a black SUV. We let them go first, then ordered our own Uber. The club was high-end, velvet ropes, neon lights, the whole 9 yards. We paid the cover fee and slipped inside, staying near the back. And there they were. Betsy, Lisa, Carol, Susan, sitting front row, champagne in hand, watching as a group of shirtless, muscular men started their routine. I felt rage boil in my gut, but I forced myself to stay calm. We weren't here to start a fight. We were here for proof. Tom pulled out his phone, angling it carefully. I'm recording this. Then it happened. One of the dancers walked up to Betsy, leaned in close, whispered something in her ear, and she laughed. Not just any laugh, that laugh. The one she used to have for me. Then she put her hand on his chest. I saw red. Let's go, I muttered. We have everything we need. The confrontation. We didn't go back to the hotel. We didn't wait for them to stumble home at 2 a.m., pretending they were innocent. We went straight home. And when Betsy walked in the next day, looking so refreshed, I was sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. Her smile faltered. Hey, you're up early. I slid my phone across the table. Go ahead, I said. Press play. She looked confused, then pressed the video. And I watched the color drain from her face. Betsy's face went pale as she stared at the screen. Her hands shook as she held my phone, the video playing right in front of her. I watched every micro-expression, how her eyes darted, how her mouth opened slightly like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. There it was, crystal clear. Betsy, at the club, giggling as some young dancer whispered in her ear, her hand on his chest like she was single. She hit pause, then looked up at me. Jerry, save it. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. I want to hear this excuse. What were you going to say? That it's not what it looks like. That I misunderstood. She blinked rapidly, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. It was just a dance, Jerry. Just some fun. It didn't mean anything. I let out a cold laugh. Didn't mean anything? Betsy, you said. I picked up my own phone and scrolled to the screenshots I took of the group chat. I slid it back to her. No regrets. It's just a weekend. What happens there, stays there. She swallowed hard. That was just... we were just joking around. We didn't do anything, Jerry. Oh, right. Just like you were joking when you said I was just a roommate. My voice was sharp, and I saw her flinch. That was just girl talk, she tried, her voice desperate now. We were venting. Everyone does it. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. Venting. That's what you call it. I gestured to the phone. You humiliated me, Betsy. And not just me, all of us. You and your friends made a game out of lying to your husbands. You planned this for weeks. And you want to sit here and act like I'm overreacting? Her eyes were wet now, but I didn't care. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Jerry, please. You have to believe me. Nothing happened. I shook my head. You don't get it, do you? It's not just about whether or not you slept with someone. It's the intent, Betsy. It's the betrayal. You laughed at me. You mocked me with your friends. You made a fool out of me while planning to cheat. And you expect me to just be okay with that? Tears spilled down her cheeks now. I don't know what to say. I exhaled sharply, then picked up the envelope sitting on the table, the one I had prepared the night before. I slid it across to her. What's this? She whispered. Divorce papers, I said flatly. She gasped. Jerry, no. Please, let's talk about this. We can fix this. I love you. I looked at her, feeling nothing but exhaustion. No, Betsy. You loved the idea of me. The safe, reliable husband. But you didn't respect me. I shook my head. And I can't be with someone who doesn't respect me. She broke down, sobbing, but I didn't comfort her. For the first time in a long time, I was done being the fool. Betsy sat there, sobbing into her hands, the divorce papers lying untouched in front of her. For a moment, I just stood there, watching her. Years ago, I would have rushed to comfort her. I would have held her, told her everything would be okay. But that man was gone. She finally looked up, her face streaked with tears. Jerry, please. We can work through this. I shook my head. No, Betsy. You made this choice. Now you live with it. Her breathing hitched. But it didn't mean anything. It was stupid, just a girl's weekend that got out of hand. I let out a bitter laugh. Didn't mean anything? Betsy, you lied to me. You planned this. And you laughed about it with your friends, treating us like we were just some dumb, oblivious men who would never find out. I pointed at the papers. Now you get to deal with the consequences. She stared at them like they were a death sentence. You already had these drawn up? Yeah, I said, voice flat. Because I knew the moment I saw you with that guy that there was no coming back from this. Her eyes widened. Wait, you were there? I folded my arms. Yeah, we all were. Her face went white. We? Me, Tom, Dave, Mike. We all saw everything. Got it on video, too. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. I tilted my head. So tell me, Betsy, if you were so innocent, why do you look like you just got caught? She was shaking now. Jerry, please. But I was done listening. I grabbed my keys. I'll be back in a few hours. I suggest you use that time to figure out where you're going to stay. Because you're not staying here. And with that, I walked out the door, leaving her to drown in the mess she made. The husband's revenge. I met up with Tom, Dave, and Mike at Tom's place. She know yet? Tom asked, handing me a beer. Oh yeah, I muttered, taking a sip. She's begging now? Saying it didn't mean anything. Dave snorted. Carol tried that with me, too. Said it was just harmless fun. Mike shook his head. Lisa's in full panic mode. Crying, swearing she'd never actually cheat. Like we didn't see her all over those guys. Tom leaned back in his chair. So what now? I exhaled slowly. I already gave Betsy the divorce papers. Told her to start packing. Dave nodded. Same. I didn't even let Carol argue. Mike looked uncertain. I don't know, man. Part of me wants to just make her suffer first. Tom smirked. Oh, don't worry. They're all about to suffer. I frowned. What do you mean? Tom pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. Check this out. We all leaned in. It was a message from Susan's brother, Matt. Matt, hey man, just saw the video. Jesus, what do you want me to do with this? I looked at Tom, confused. You sent it to her brother? Tom nodded. And her parents. And her work. My jaw dropped. Holy SH. Dude. Dave let out a low whistle. You exposed her. Tom shrugged. Why should I protect her? She sure as hell didn't protect me when she was laughing about what a boring husband I was. I couldn't even argue with that. Mike rubbed his chin. You think we should do the same? I thought about it. About how Betsy had humiliated me, lied to me, treated me like some joke. Then I picked up my phone. Yeah, I said. Let's do it. By the time I got back home that night, Betsy was still sitting in the kitchen, divorce papers untouched, her eyes red from crying. I expected her to have packed something, at least pretended to respect my decision. But no, she was still sitting there like she was owed another chance. She looked up the moment I stepped in. Jerry, she whispered, voice hoarse. Please, can we just talk? I ignored her and walked right past her to the bedroom. I pulled out a suitcase, unzipped it, and started throwing in her clothes. She jumped up, panic flashing in her eyes. Jerry, stop. What are you doing? I zipped it up, yanked it off the bed, and shoved it toward her. Helping you move out. She froze. Where am I supposed to go? I crossed my arms. Not my problem. She let out a choked sob. Jerry, I made a mistake. But you don't have to destroy everything over one bad decision. I laughed coldly. One bad decision? Betsy, you spent weeks planning this. You sat in that living room with your friends and mocked me like I was a joke. You put your hands all over another man. And you lied, over and over. She wiped her face, shaking her head. But I didn't sleep with anyone. Doesn't that count for something? I scoffed. Oh, so I'm just supposed to be grateful that you almost cheated? I took a step closer, lowering my voice. Tell me, Betsy, if I hadn't found out, if I hadn't been there, how far would you have gone? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her face crumpled, and she looked away. I nodded. That's what I thought. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a message from Tom. Tom, bro, check Facebook. Now, my stomach flipped. I opened the app and nearly burst out laughing. There it was. The video. Our wives, in the club, giggling and touching those dancers like a bunch of desperate teenagers. Tom had posted it publicly. Tagged everyone. Friends, family, co-workers, you name it. Betsy's phone pinged at the same time. She picked it up, eyes scanning the screen, and then, "Oh my God," she gasped. I smirked. Guess the whole world knows now. She looked up at me, horror-stricken. You did this." I shrugged. Tom posted it. But yeah, I agreed. Her hands flew to her mouth. "Jerry, my family is going to see this." "Good," I said flatly. "They should know the kind of woman you've become." She let out a broken sob. "I can't believe you would humiliate me like this." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "Humiliate you? Betsy, you did this to yourself. You weren't embarrassed when you were laughing about me behind my back. You weren't embarrassed when you lied to my face." I gestured to the phone. This is just karma." She sank into a chair, staring blankly at the screen. "I'm ruined," she whispered. I had nothing left to say, so I picked up her suitcase, walked to the front door, and held it open. "Time for you to go." She sat frozen for a moment. Then, slowly, she got up, grabbing her bag with shaking hands. As she walked past me, she stopped in the doorway, eyes pleading. "Jerry, is there any chance you'll forgive me?" I stared at her, at the woman I once loved, the woman who betrayed me so easily. Then I shook my head. "No," and I shut the door in her face. The moment the door shut behind Betsy, I let out a long breath. I thought I'd feel relief, maybe even satisfaction. But all I felt was empty. I wasn't sad. I wasn't happy. I was just done. I locked the door and sat down on the couch, scrolling through my phone. The post Tom made was blowing up. Comments were brutal. Tom's post: "When your loving wife tells you she's going on a spa retreat, but instead books a front row seat at a male strip club and gets real handsy with the talent. Well, ladies, looks like the joke's on you. Hope it was worth it." People were tagging everyone. Family members, friends, co-workers. I saw a comment from Susan's mom. "Susan's mom, I raised you better than this. I am disgusted and ashamed." Damn. Then I saw a comment from Betsy's sister. "Betsy's sister, I don't even know who you are anymore. You humiliated Jerry, and now the whole family has to deal with this? Unbelievable." I kept scrolling. "Betsy's boss, this is incredibly unprofessional. We'll be having a conversation on Monday. Carol's husband, Dave, divorce papers signed. Have fun being single, Carol. Lisa's daughter, Mom. WTF? It was a massacre." Then my phone rang. Amy, my daughter. I hesitated before picking up. "Hey, sweetheart." "Dad," she said, her voice shaking. "What the hell is happening? I just woke up to 100 missed calls. Uncle Tom posted some video of Mom. What is going on?" I exhaled, rubbing my temples. "It's true, Amy. Your mom, she lied. She and her friends were never at a spa. They went to a club to cheat on us." Silence. Then, no. I heard the denial in her voice, the same way I had denied it to myself at first. "I'm sorry, Amy." She sniffled. I need to talk to her." I swallowed hard. "I don't know where she's staying." Amy was quiet for a long time. Then, finally, she said, "I love you, Dad. I'm coming over." Meanwhile, by the time Amy showed up, my phone had not stopped buzzing. Tom called. "Dude, Susan's begging me to take the post down, but the comments are just getting worse." "Let it stay," I said. Dave texted, "Carol is hysterical. Apparently, her boss saw the video and sent her a 'we need to talk' email. I think she's getting fired." "Mike, Lisa got kicked out of her sister's house. She's blaming me for ruining her life." Classic. Then, something unexpected, Betsy called me. I ignored it. Then she texted, "Betsy, please talk to me." "Betsy, Jerry, I'm losing everything. Please." I stared at the screen. Then I blocked her number. The talk with Amy. Amy sat across from me, arms folded, her face a storm of emotions. "I talked to Mom," she said, voice tight. "She's staying with Lisa. She was crying so much I could barely understand her." I sighed. "I'm sorry you have to deal with this." Amy shook her head. "No, she should be sorry. Not just for what she did to you, but for how stupid she was. Did she really think you wouldn't find out? She thought I'd never suspect her." Amy let out a humorless laugh. "Well, she's an idiot." I studied my daughter carefully. Are you okay? She wiped at her eyes, looking away. I don't understand. How could she do this? To us. She didn't think about us, Amy, I said quietly. She only thought about herself. Amy shook her head. I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. I reached across the table and took her hand. You don't have to decide anything right now. Just take your time. She swallowed hard. I love you, Dad. I just wanted you to know that. I squeezed her hand. I love you too, sweetheart. Meanwhile, in the Wives group chat, while I was sitting with Amy, something else was happening. Tom sent me a screenshot of the Wives chat. Lisa, who posted that video? Carol, Tom did. But they all agreed to it. Susan, oh my God, my parents saw it. My boss saw it. I'm ruined. Betsy, Jerry won't talk to me. Amy knows everything. I think she hates me. Lisa, you think you have it bad. My sister kicked me out. I have nowhere to go. Carol, Dave is divorcing me. He won't even look at me. Betsy, how do we fix this? Lisa, we don't. We're screwed. I showed it to Amy. She read it and snorted. Good. Let them suffer. I smiled. I think they're just getting started. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter. For the first time in years, I didn't wake up worrying about keeping Betsy happy. Didn't feel that weight of obligation pressing on my chest. She was gone, and I was free. I got up, made some coffee, and sat on the porch, scrolling through my phone. The fallout was still spreading like wildfire. Betsy and her friends were in full damage control mode. Carol's job officially fired her. Apparently, the company didn't appreciate her being caught on video groping a stripper while bragging about how her husband would never find out. Lisa's family was icing her out completely. Her sister refused to take her calls, and her daughter, who saw the video, had blocked her on all platforms. Susan's parents were furious. Her dad called Tom and apologized for how Susan had treated him. Even her own father took his side. And Betsy? She was losing everyone. Tom sent me another screenshot from the group chat. Betsy, Amy won't answer my calls. She won't even look at me. Carol, my son called me a cheater to my face. I think he hates me. Lisa, I don't think we can fix this. Maybe we should just go silent for a while. Betsy, Jerry blocked me. What am I supposed to do now? I exhaled, shaking my head. They had spent weeks planning their fun, and now they were watching their lives go up in flames. A surprise visit. Around noon, there was a knock at my door. I opened it and froze. It was Betsy. She looked wrecked. Hair unkempt, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. She held a small bag in one hand. Jerry, she whispered. Please, just let me talk. I stared at her for a long moment. Then, finally, I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. She swallowed hard. I don't know where else to go. I crossed my arms. That's not my problem. Her face crumpled. Jerry, I messed up. I know I did. But, please, can't we just talk about this? I let out a slow breath. Talk about what? About how you lied to me. About how you mocked me with your friends. About how you planned to cheat, and the only reason you didn't is because you got caught. Tears spilled down her cheeks. It wasn't like that. I laughed bitterly. Then how was it, Betsy? Explain it to me. Tell me why you thought it was okay to betray me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because there wasn't an excuse. She knew it. She sniffled. I don't deserve forgiveness, do I? I shook my head. No, you don't. She flinched, looking down. I don't even know who I am anymore, she whispered. I studied her carefully. For the first time, she actually looked remorseful. Not because she got caught, because she was finally realizing what she had thrown away. I took a deep breath. Betsy, I loved you for 28 years. But that Betsy, the one I married, she's gone. She let out a choked sob. So that's it. I nodded. That's it. She wiped her face. Can I at least hug you? One last time. I thought about it. About everything we had been through. Then I shook my head. No. Her lip trembled. Okay, she whispered. And then she turned and walked away. I watched her go, and I didn't feel sad. I felt free. The final blow. That night, I got a call from Amy. Dad, she said, her voice firm. I talked to Mom. I sat up. Yeah. She sighed. She told me everything. The lies. The club. How she laughed about you behind your back. I swallowed hard. And Amy's voice turned cold. She's dead to me. I blinked. Amy, you don't have to. She betrayed our family. Amy interrupted. Not just you, us. And I don't want someone like that in my life. I exhaled, rubbing my temple. I don't want you to regret this later. Amy hesitated. Then she said, I won't. There was silence between us. Then, quietly, she said, I just want you to know. I'm proud of you, Dad. A lump formed in my throat. Thanks, sweetheart. She sniffled. You're better off without her. And for the first time since this all started, I realized. She was right. 3 weeks. That's how long it had been since Betsy walked out of my life. 3 weeks since everything blew up, since I filed the divorce papers, since the world saw who she really was. And in those 3 weeks, she had lost everything. Her friends? Scattered. Their group chat was dead. Lisa was still trying to fix her reputation. Carol was hiding from everyone. And Susan had gone completely silent. Her job? Gone. Apparently, someone at her office saw the video, and her professional reputation wasn't so professional anymore. Her family? Barely speaking to her. Her sister wanted nothing to do with her. Even her own mother said she was disappointed. And Amy? Amy stood her ground. Betsy had tried to call her dozens of times. Sent messages. Left voicemails. But Amy never responded. She was done with her. Just like me. The final conversation. Last night, I got one last message from Betsy. Betsy, Jerry, please. Just talk to me. Betsy, I know I ruined everything, but I just need to see you one more time. Please. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then, against my better judgment, I called her. She answered immediately. Jerry. Her voice was hoarse, like she had been crying. I sighed. What do you want, Betsy? A shaky breath. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For lying. For hurting you. For her voice broke. For ruining us. I closed my eyes. I know. Silence. Then, barely a whisper. Do you think we could ever fix this? I exhaled sharply. No, Betsy. We can't. She sniffled. I miss you. I nodded to myself. I don't miss you. A small gasp. Like I had physically hit her. You miss me, Betsy, I continued. You miss the man who loved you. The man who took care of you. The man who would have done anything for you. I let out a humorless laugh. But that man? He's gone. You killed him. She let out a quiet sob. I waited. And then she whispered, I hate myself. I shook my head. That's not my problem. Another sharp inhale. Goodbye, Betsy. And I hung up. I blocked her number. Deleted our old messages. And just like that, it was over. Moving forward. This morning, I met up with Amy for breakfast. She smiled at me. You look good, Dad. I chuckled. I feel good. And for the first time in years, I actually meant it. She raised her coffee cup. To new beginnings? I clinked mine against hers. To new beginnings. The end. And that, my friends, is the real conclusion. No dramatic reconciliation. No last-minute changes of heart. Just the cold, hard truth. Some people don't deserve a second chance. I walked away, and I'm never looking back. To everyone who followed this crazy ride, thank you. And if you're ever in my position, choose yourself.
Goodbye.